When it comes to barbecue rubs, we are often told by barbecue influencers not to use a rub that contains sugar because it will burn. But as a backyard barbecue pitmaster, you might ask, are we being told the truth? I mean, why then do so many rubs contain sugar? Which rubs do you ask? Bearded Butcher's Black, first ingredient cane and brown sugar. The Spice Lab's Black Steak, second ingredient turbinado sugar. Fire and Smoke Society's Black and Tan, second ingredient brown sugar. Kuso's Dirt Rub, second ingredient brown sugar. And Hardcore Carnivore's Black, second ingredient white sugar. With all this conflicting information out there, it might leave even Sasquatch confused. If you believe in Sasquatch. But if you believe in making good barbecue, then let's take a deep dive into this subject as we make our own black steak rub using a form of sugar here on Al Lunacy Cueing. Welcome back, mi gente buena. This is the third and final episode of our Black Beef Rub series. I initially was going to do 4 episodes, but some commitments came up and I had to call it short. If there is enough interest in a 4th episode, then we'll come back and revisit. So let's get started. So we'll start off by dropping 2 teaspoons of our charcoal-coated black salt into our shaker. These first few ingredients are the same ones we used in episode 1 of this series, and I'll have links in the video description below if you are interested in purchasing. Next, we will add 1.5 teaspoons of black pepper, and I say this is about an 18 mesh coarse grind. Next is 1/2 teaspoon of onion powder, followed by 1/2 teaspoon of garlic powder. Now the last ingredient we'll be adding is sugar. The sugar we'll be using is a black sanding sugar sprinkles used for baking, cakes, cookies, cupcakes, ice cream toppings, and glass rimming sugar for mixed drinks. It's basically sugar with a food color additive. We first added just 1 teaspoon, then gave it a shake, a quick taste test, and I felt that wasn't enough sugar, so we added 1 more teaspoon. After another quick shake, then a taste test, I felt that was a good balance of sugar for me. However, from my research, I learned that most people will start with at least equal parts of sugar to salt ratio for a barbecue rub. And most people will end up liking a slightly higher sugar to salt ratio in a rub because its sweetness balances out the saltiness of the salt and the spicy notes of the black pepper. In the end, just use the salt to sugar to pepper ratio your taste buds prefer as you are mixing your rub, and you won't go wrong. This mix here is just a starting point for you all. At our end, here are the final amounts of each ingredient we used. Now let's talk about why you would want to use a rub containing sugar, and finally answer the question, does sugar really burn? Sugar actually caramelizes before it burns, and the burning part really depends on what temperature you are cooking at. Usually, the caramelization process starts at around 320 degrees when the sugar starts melting and becomes clear molten sugar. By the time the temperature reaches 340 to 350 degrees, the color will also begin to change to a pale caramel brown or a light straw color. Now, what are the benefits of using sugar in a rub? First off, flavor enhancement. Sugar balances the saltiness and spiciness in a rub, adding a touch of sweetness that elevates the overall flavor of your meat. Now, some people will say that they don't like the sweet taste in beef cuts, but I'm willing to bet that you have a barbecue rub in your pantry that contains some form of sugar that you really enjoy, and you didn't even know it. Another reason is that sugar adds to the Maillard reaction. The Maillard reaction occurs when sugar and amino acids in the meat react to high temperatures, and your beef begins to brown and get that dark crust around the edges that's full of flavor. Another reason is bark development. Sugar, especially brown sugar, can contribute to a thicker, darker bark on your meat when you're smoking because it caramelizes and blends in with the other spices, forming a nice dark colored crust. And the last reason would be for its moisture retention. Brown sugar with its high moisture content can help keep meat tender and juicy because it caramelizes and forms a sheen or a gloss that holds in the juice in your meat. So in my research, I would have to conclude that yes, sugar will burn, but only if it's around high temperatures for an extended period. But even before it burns, it will go through the caramelization process before doing so. So with this in mind, I will purposely try and cook my steak at a higher temperature than usual and see how the sugar in the rub reacts. But I do want to eat it, so I'll try not to overcook it. Our seasoned steak stayed in the fridge for a total of 4 hours. Then we took it out and let it get to room temperature. The grill is all ready to go, so let's see what happens as we rock the cook. So if you see the steak itself, you can see that there is some charred parts, off to the edge. You can see that fat there still sizzling. But for the most part, you just see a juicy, nice seared steak. Nothing, there is some charring right here, but not bad for rub that has sugar, right? So if you noticed, even at 650 degrees, only the fatty edges got burned, and the sugar stayed mostly in its caramelized state, judging from the shine on the steak. So now we'll add some compound butter I made with chives, garlic, and other spices, then wrap it up in foil and let it rest for about 15 minutes. Once the steak has had its time to rest, we'll open it up and take a look. The compound butter has melted, and those chives, herbs, and spices are just swimming in this juicy, delicious looking steak. Alright now, time to grab our Dow Strong steak knife and cut into this succulent piece of beef. I was aiming for a medium rare, but we got more like a medium here. It's alright, I'll take it. Let me cut another piece of meat and confirm. Yep, it's a medium doneness. Let's give it a try. The sugar added an extra layer of savoriness when compared to our first rub. I can see why so many rub companies add sugar to their spice, because it really balances out the flavors in a rub. And so, my good people, don't be afraid to use a rub containing sugar on your barbecue. It's in there for good reasons. And even if you try to burn it like we did, it's kind of hard to do. A more complex rub could include black garlic or some black cumin, but those are ideas for another time. Good food brings good people together. I thank you for the support, and as always, take care of yourself and each other.